Our plant-based bond.
Good, happy Thursday evening to you.
Happy Thursday evening to you.
Welcome to our plant-based bunch. You guys, we are bringing to you a video that you have been asking for. Not everybody, some of you, about how Curtis and I met. How we met, how we came together, how we started our family. So this is it. This is the one. So to begin with, I believe that God totally had his hand in every way possible to bring us together. Don't you, honey?
Well, I was with you until you said in every way possible. You know, sometimes the human element gets involved and God has to work around it.
But God's hand was in every...
I see how God led us
okay.
together. I mean,
All
that's
right.
the simple... I just can't give a simple answer, can I?
No, you can't give it somebody. You
I'm
just
sorry.
can't say yes.
For those of you that know me, I just can't say yes. I
All
had
right.
to qualify it, right?
All right, you had to qualify.
Okay.
I understand. So anyway, I guess I'll tell a little bit of my before we met type of story first, and then we'll get into actually how we came together. So before we met, I was alone for a long time. I didn't even meet Curtis until I was like, what, 30? Almost 31. And
I was, what, 33?
33. Yeah, or just about. I was 30 and you were...
Boy, those were the days. That was a long time
32.
ago.
I was 30 and you were 32, but it was right before our birthdays.
Shoot,
Anyway,
I'm gonna be
enough of
50
that.
this year.
I know.
Anyway.
So, anyways, I was lonely. I really was. And I was
No,
traveling.
you never told me you were lonely.
I did. I
All right,
told
go
you. I
ahead.
was lonely. And
She was
I
lonely.
worked as a traveling x-ray technologist, which I really thoroughly enjoyed, but it kind of made me even all the more lonely because everywhere I traveled, I had to like go to a new place, meet new people, learn a new job. And even before that, even before I started doing that job, I always had this longing in my heart to have a family, to have a husband and have children. And I just was never really satisfied. And I was just mopey and complained a lot. And then one day...
You never told me you were mopey.
I was mopey. One day.
It's like, what? I know what this reminds me of watching like an episode of the Newlyweds Game where they're like,
You never told me that.
they're on national TV like, you never told me that. You never told me that.
All right. Let's
Before you know it, they're divorced before they walk off the show.
Let's stay in the story.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Anyhow, one day I just really lifted up my heart to the Lord and said a sincere prayer. And I just said, God, if it is your will that I'm going to be alone, that's the way I can best accomplish your purpose, the best way to serve you, then so be it. That's what I would do. I was willing to completely 100% submit my heart to the Lord to do his work and to be submitted to his will, even if it meant being alone. And that's when the turning point happened, believe it or not. I was at peace. I was really comfortable with being alone when I finally did that. And then I was meeting with an older friend of mine, and he was a good friend, and I told him about my revelation. I said, you know what, I was just meant to be alone, and that's just the way I'm going to take it. And he was like, well, you still need to have friends, and you need to fellowship with people. You need to be with people that are like-minded to edify each other. He said, it wouldn't be bad for you to go back to the singles internet site that I was on, is what he was talking about. And, I used to be kind of embarrassed by it. But now I'm thinking, if you have no place to reach out to people, if you're in a rural environment, or if you're in a place where you're not around people that think the way you do, that's like the next best thing to actually coming up and meeting people. Is to I don't know. I don't recommend it for everybody, and I didn't even want to go back to it this time. I said, no, I'm done with that. And he said, well, you know what? You can just meet friends. You can just go there just to meet people that are like you. And I thought, well, I don't know. And finally, I just went, okay, I'll do it. So I put my name back, my profile back on this single site that I was on before, and I didn't really think anything of it. And I don't think it was 2 weeks later that Curtis saw my profile. You want to take it from here?
Diamond in the rough. Yeah, I was, well, just to qualify something you said too, with the particulars of our faith and everything, it's like you don't just meet a lot of like-minded people in your local area. At least I
That's true.
didn't.
That's
Even
true.
within Adventism, you know, you got a lot of liberal people, and I wasn't really looking for that. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I became a Christian in '98, and what year did we meet?
We met in 2001.
2001. So I'd been a Christian for like 3 years, and I hadn't really dated. And then at the end, like the last year, I started thinking about it, and I went out with a couple local church girls once or twice, and it didn't work out. They just, I didn't feel like they really loved the Lord, you know. At least the way thought I was being led to, or they weren't. Let me just say, I shouldn't say they didn't love the Lord. I didn't
You didn't
feel that they were, you know, maybe as serious or whatever. It just didn't work. Let me just put it that way. I don't want to tear anybody up,
Yeah,
but
right. So,
it just wasn't going to work. And then I started a food business, distributing food and like nuts and seeds and stuff like that, and you know, try to refocus, because I was like Stacy too. Before I was a Christian, I don't want to say I always had girlfriends, but I would have girlfriends, and now I'm in my 30s. You know, you're starting to think about getting married or whatever, and you know, you feel like the clock's running a little bit. I was 32, like you said.
32. Mm-hmm.
But I did refocus to do this food business, and I said I'm going to put my energy into that, health food.
Mm-hmm.
And to make a long story short, my partners, the day I got my first delivery, my partners bailed out on me. And that kind of got me depressed and lonely. And I had heard about this site for Adventists, this single site, and I was like, I remember I was sitting at my mom's, and I was just like, man, these guys really bummed me out. So I just started looking on that site a little bit, you know, browsing around really, and
Browsing. You were browsing?
Stay browsing, like looking for a car, you know, tire kicking, whatever you want to call it, you know.
Oh yeah.
And Stacy stuck out to me, you know. She just stuck out. She was dressed conservative. She looked conservative. She looked humble, and
So you reached out to me.
so yeah.
Yeah.
I just sent her a little note. Hey, you know, I was on this site, and I seen your photo. Maybe we could talk on the phone sometime or something. And then, without getting into all the details, somewhere along the line, I don't know if it was that day or a week later, a month later, but she's decided, I'm not looking for anybody anymore.
It wasn't too long after we started talking, but I didn't really want things to get too far ahead, because I was determined that I just wasn't going to get involved in a relationship, that I was just looking for friends. And I told him that. I said, I'm not really looking for a relationship.
No.
But you're nice enough and everything,
But then somewhere down the line, I don't think it was right away, but I called her on it and I said, what are you
months.
doing? What are you doing on a single site? And then what are you doing here? You know. Somehow I persuaded my way in the door.
Well, I got to thinking about it too, and I thought, you know what? I really felt a connection with him, and I didn't see anything that raised any red flags, anything that I would be concerned about, or And I thought, I should probably maybe sort of give him a chance. At least give you a chance, right?
Yeah. Well, it's nice of you.
And yeah,
Worked out.
It worked out. It did finally. Anyways, so of course, when you're meeting somebody on a website, you want to be a little bit on the careful side. So I thought, there's a camp meeting coming up. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, they have camp meetings.
Because I was in Illinois and she was in Virginia.
I was in North Carolina, actually. I was working,
North Carolina. That's
I was
right.
working in North Carolina. And he was in Illinois, and I thought, well, how's this going to work? But there was a camp meeting in Virginia, in my home, close to my hometown. And I thought, well, let's just meet at the camp meeting, a neutral place. And there'll be a lot of people there. It should be safe. And he was up for it, and he came to visit me in Virginia for a few days, about 5 or 6 days. And things went well. It went well.
Yeah,
we did a lot of really searching and praying together too, which I could really appreciate, and just seeing if this is what God was leading. See if God was leading, and we did a lot of reading, and it was very strange to me, because I just really never expected that anything like that was going to happen. I really just
I mean,
I was really decided that I was just going to be a single person. So it wasn't long after that, in July, his birthday was coming up, so I said, you know what, I'm going to take a few days from work and fly to Illinois and see his neck of the woods and visit with you for a couple of days. And then after that, we're like, you know what, let's see if we can make this work. And since I was a traveler, it was much easier for me to find work closer to him than it was for him just to take up and leave and try to be closer to me. And, you know, long distance relationships don't really work. So we knew that we had to be, you know, closer in order for us to get to know each other and develop this relationship. So I did.
I think being in your 30s too, and being where we were at, you're like, you know, we were like both in a spot where we're like, we're not playing games.
No, either you're going to do it or
gonna
you're not
work
going to
or
do
it's
it.
not going to work.
That's right.
You know, and it's the nice thing was she could take a 3-month assignment up in Illinois, and
that's what I did.
if it doesn't work, you're there for 3 months, and then you're
go
down the
somewhere
road.
else.
You know,
That's right.
that was kind of one of the benefits of your job.
It
you
was.
know,
It was good.
so there wasn't a lot of and as God would have it, you know, there was things were like. There's a lot more to this story, guys, that we're not going to get into. But like a lot of things were like falling into place. There was, for example, there was a guy that I worked with. Well, I worked with, for lack of a better term, that he had a vacant house for rent, so she would have a place. He was trying to sell it, and he said she could stay there
while he was selling.
And it was close to the hospital she was going to work at,
Yeah.
because she was like still an hour away from me, right?
Right, yeah.
Because she was down by Hazel Crest, which is by the Indiana border, and for those of you that know Illinois, I'm over here in Aurora, so
So yeah, a little bit away.
you know, so there was just like little things, and it was all like coming together, and we had a lot in common. You know,
We did.
that not everything in common, but
No.
enough. We're very different, you know, and that kind of worked out too. Because I can't compare it to anybody else, but you hear stories how like. You can't marry someone that's just like you.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
right. Yeah.
It's not that we weren't both exactly alike. I mean, our characters and our personalities are a lot different, I think.
But we complement
But
each
our
other.
we complement each other, and our common interest, you know, as far as spiritual things go, especially, you know, the times we're living in, how to raise our children,
the most important
you know, how we want
issues,
the home structure,
we agreed on the most important
and
issues.
that we agreed on, you know.
Pretty
So,
much, yeah.
like a year later, we were married, you know.
Let's see. We we actually met physically in June of 2001, and we're married in June 2002. And then we had Nicholas in June of 2003.
Well, I remember one thing happening too. She said she had come up and visited in July, and then I remember because we were at this point we were like talking on the phone a lot and stuff. But when 9/11 happened, because I remember that was the year that 9/11 happened, and I just remember when that happened because you were in North Carolina, right, and I was in Illinois. And we were close enough at that point where I was like, you know, I just want you over here by me. I just had this sense of like wanting her to be closer so I could take care of her because, I mean, 9/11 had an impact on people, you know. I mean, it had an impact on me, and it made you think a different way, and it made you think about what's important to you, and that even kind of like moved things along a little bit.
So I ended up
I mean?
in October. You know, that happened in September. I was in Illinois in October.
And then I said, yeah, you know, look at the way the world's going, and you know, I really care about you, and I'd like you to be over here, you know, and let's see what we can do, you know.
And that's what we did.
And
so in the story, till it still continues as we live in this earth.
Yeah, that was that was what 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
So,
yeah, and here we are, still.
It's been great.
It's
It's been really great. It's worked out.
We've had our moments
for us.
But
well, everybody has their
everybody
moments.
has their
but,
moments.
I mean, we haven't really even had big moments.
No.
You know, we try to not let the sun go down on wrath. You know, and
that's true.
We're just trying to be right and get ready, right?
So words of wisdom. Make sure that you pray and have that connection with the Lord before you ever decide to marry anybody. And be patient, be thoughtful, and even when the rose-colored glasses come off and the honeymoon is over, that you just stick with it.
Well, not only that, guys, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade here, but with I will say this on top of what she just said. You know, the times that we're living in now are a lot different even than when we met, you
True.
know.
They're
And
changing
I would
everything.
really pray hard about getting married now.
Not even getting married.
You know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, that's true.
this world's a much different place, even ironically, even than just 15 years ago. Now, I'm not telling people not to get married or whatever.
But
I'm just
really
saying,
be
you know,
prayerful and say,
it's-
is it God's will for you
you
to
know.
really be married? Yeah.
and if you marry, I don't know by experience, but direct experience, but I know by talking to a lot of people, if you marry the wrong person, you're gonna have a nightmare on your hands.
Yes. Yes.
You know.
So we're gonna make this short and sweet. We thank you guys for this, for watching us, for taking time out of your day to spend a moment and be with us. Thank you for
Yeah,
your
guys.
question. Thank you for asking us about how we met, because it's a really neat story about how God works, and there's a whole lot more to it. But
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is a short. This is a short
you guys
version.
got the real short version.
And we will have more to share. So stay tuned. We're going to do more informational videos. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, health related. We're going to talk about essential oils, natural remedies, different topics, the 8 laws of health. We're going to do more here on YouTube because that's what you request. We're going to really kind of shift from Periscope and do a little more on YouTube, even though we will still be on Periscope. So until next time, thank you for watching. We'll catch you later, and don't forget to
Live well and be
strong.
blessed.
Don't forget to live well and be strong. Adios.